So, are you inviting a demon when you watch a horror movie? Let's talk about it. Oh. Not auto the internet. Welcome back to another episode of Shanclen Shadow Productions. Now, this is something I've kind of always pondered for a long time. Does watching a horror movie actually invite evil into your home? Or maybe watching some of my scary tales invite evil into your home? Let's dive into this. Now, just a little bit of a disclaimer here for disclaimers of all my videos here. There's a reason why I put a disclaimer on my videos, is because of this very reason right here. The thought of watching horror, building that energy of negativity or having darkness and evil be talked around. Because I did talk about how sometimes when you speak of evil and darkness, their ears could be perking up and listening. So that's something that you all should kind of take it into account, but not only just with YouTube videos or things that you see on the internet, but also Hollywood itself. Now, this is something that when it comes to movies and things I've seen in the actual past, you ever have that feeling sometimes of when you're watching a movie and you just get done watching it and you finish it, and you just feel off. You just feel like you just went through a weird roller coaster. You saw things you shouldn't have seen, and you just kind of feel weird, even though it wasn't that scary, or you know, all of the above situations like that. And I certainly have. Now, what is the reasoning behind this? Why do you feel weird after watching these videos? Or maybe I've even seen some people in my comments say they kind of feel a little bit weird, or they wait till the sunrise to come up before they listen or hear any of my stories, which is, you know, I don't blame you. Some of the things I talk about are pretty scary. Well, one of the main reasons why that is because, just like how I said, when you talk about evil, when you talk about darkness and certain things like this, it does build some of that energy. It does build some of those imagination, the thoughts inside of your mind to be able to manifest certain things. Now, I'll get to videos and other kind of content in a bit, but let me go ahead and focus on movies here for now. Movies like The Conjuring definitely were movies that made me think twice or feel weird after I watched them. The Nun is definitely another one of those. Insidious, those Exorcist movies, they kind of make me feel kind of weird. Some of them not, but like the original Exorcist movie, I definitely felt like that too. Poltergeist was another one too that was kind of weird. Trying to think of any other ones, but the reason why is because sometimes that these movies or these videos that you watch could be triggering because of some things that you may have seen in your life or witnessed yourself. Now, it kind of goes back a little bit to my last video, what I talked about. It was one of my reacts video that I did, and I talked about how one of these videos may not be true, but it creeped me out because it was related to something that I do know that is real. And that's what freaked me out about it. Not the video itself, but the imagery or the story or the topic they were trying to portray inside of that video is what was triggering for me, I would have to say. Now, when it comes to these movies, it could be that some of these things, the underlying tone, the music could bring up a traumatic memory, could bring up traumatic things that you have seen, horrific things, however little or small. It reminded you of something. And that's what kind of makes horror movies scary. That's what makes horror movies so enticing for a lot of people, to kind of get that thrill, to get that, to feel alive, you know, to make your life, you know, sometimes it makes your life feel better than what it is because you're not dealing with all these crazy things that are running around here, or what the movie was talking about, to escape reality a little bit. But you have to be careful with that too, because it can be triggering. Some things that you watch, it may not even be a horror movie. It could be a documentary. It could be, you know, it could involve war. All these other different things can make you feel weird because it brings up that memories. So that's one of those things. Number two is there could actually be some demons on set. And what I mean by that is good examples are of the Exorcist movie and certain things that you hear about the cast. You hear about directors and producers and actors actually going and seeing some weird things happen behind the scenes. And when you're making a movie, that's something that I'm going to have to keep in mind when I do make my movies, is when you're telling these stories of these spirits or possessions or events that happened, sometimes you can call upon those beings that were actually there at the time, or invite others that maybe want to do the same thing, that, hey, these guys are making a movie about this. Let me go ahead and see what's going on. And that's something that is risky when you do these things, is because some of these movies actually had to have, a priest come on set, an indigenous medicine man come on set and bless the set while they were actually filming the movie. And that's something that's kind of really creepy about the whole thing, is like, there's that energy that's with it, is because movie making is an art. When you make videos or anything like this, it's an art form. You're putting your soul, you're putting your energy into everything that you do on set, or from the cameraman to the producer director to the actors themselves. All that energy that gets combined into this movie with the music, the storytelling, and even you may not be able to see some of the spirits on the screen, but they may be there. And that kind of goes back to a lot of the stories of our indigenous people used to say a long time ago. Whenever you take your picture, your soul gets stolen, a piece of you gets stolen, and it gets put onto these images that are right here. A part of you gets taken away and put onto that. So kind of translating that into nowadays when it comes to movies and these cameras, and even this one I have right here and that one over there, they can capture emotion. They can capture feeling and energy that you put inside of it. So you have to kind of be careful a little bit about things you watch and consume. That's why, you never really watch anything about on the dark web or any if there's videos of accidents or anything. You kind of feel weird and sick to your stomach whenever you watch these things, because that's the energy that's kind of put into it. It's unnatural. It's things that you're not supposed to really see unless, it's your time or it happens in front of you in real life. So that's kind of like the second one, is with the energies that gets put into these movies get sent out back to you. You can feel the emotions. That's what actors kind of do. They show you the emotions. And sometimes I've actually heard stories of actors possibly getting possessed during movies too. The Shining was another one of those that had a lot of creepy stories that's with it. And that hotel is actually haunted too. And even The Wizard of Oz, somebody actually took their own life, and they say that one's also a cursed movie as well. So those energies kind of go along with it too, and that's what elevates the fear that kind of goes into it. And also movies that are, say, based on a true story, those ones I really love, just because it adds a little extra fear, because when you're watching this, you're just like, holy crap, this is so crazy. But then you're like, oh crap, this actually happened. This actually, all these events actually, and then, it's a possibility that these things could happen, and then that adds on another layer of fear that's with it too as well. Third thing too, more specifically, some of these movies that I've actually seen in my lifetime really kind of correlates, may not be 100% exact, but certain aspects of spiritual interactions, spiritual stuff that happens in the spiritual world that not a lot of people know about unless you are a gifted person. And some of those movies that actually did that for me was with The Nun and The Conjuring 2. Not Conjuring 2, but the Conjuring series in general. Those, and Insidious as well. Those, interestingly enough, have concepts. May not be 100% exact. They're so close, but there's some things in there that are actually true, that are actually give the people a little bit of a taste of what the evils do inside of the spiritual world itself. Now, I always questioned, how did these directors and writers know about that? How did they know about these certain situations and everything that happened in the spiritual world? I thought we were the only ones that kind of knew about this. But then that also kind of makes me start to think that, okay, so there's other people out there, whether they are gifted or not, that actually have gone through this and they're kind of voluntarily putting this information out there, or there's a darker entity that wants this to be shown in a certain way. It kind of, I would see interviews of these directors and writers talk about how they make their movies, and sometimes they talk about, I had a vision or a dream about this idea one day. It just came out of nowhere, and I have no idea how it came about, but it came together really nicely. And I'm like, it could be introduced, whether that's a good or evil spirit that's with the message that's there. And that, for me, even though some of these movies could be totally ridiculous, some of the aspects in there tie in and correlate with a lot of the stuff that happens spiritually in the spirit world. And that's what gives me the heebie-jeebies. I'm just like, how do they know about this? How are they able to portray this so well? And I always kind of walk out of the theater kind of feeling, because it's either that, a mixture of everything. Maybe the producer had these visions. Maybe it was based on a true story. Maybe the set was haunted. Maybe I did go through some traumatic events that were very similar to the movie I'm watching. And those ones right there are very, very, very powerful when it comes to that. Now, the next thing you always have to be careful about when you watch movies like this are what's around you at the time when you're watching this. That's why I say sometimes in some of my videos, burn some sweetgrass, burn some cedar, have some tobacco ready, because some of the topics do get really deep when it comes to the horror, or some of the darker things that I do talk about in my channel, as well as other things in the world too. Some things I'm just like, okay, I need to have a smoke and pray after this movie I watched, or some of these clips that I see, is because sometimes, if you don't know it, there could be something in your home, like an actual darker entity or a spiritual being inside of your home. And when it sees that darkness being talked about, when it sees that fear building inside of you, it gathers energy too. It can get a little bit stronger too. And it can start, freaking you out with shadows and all these other dark things inside of your home, and building that fear even more so. So that's why you always have to kind of be careful whenever you do partake in the darkness stuff, dark content, dark, evil teachings and stuff like that, is because these things could be around. That's why I always put a disclaimer on a video that's like super, super scary or anything like that, just to, so you, the viewer, are very, very best safe as you can. Now, when it comes to that, it's very interesting to be able to hear the concept or the thought that evil energy can be captured and stored through technology, SD cards, cameras, and transferred to you, the viewer. And I guess that's why a lot of people say, you shouldn't watch scary movies, or you're feeding the darkness and the evil, you're making them more powerful. I get that. I understand that too. But sometimes it's just a movie. Sometimes it's just a video. You just want to get a creep factor in, and you just want to feel alive, feel the rush to, when you enjoy this content. And, you may not get affected at all. There's also that audience too out there. I'm just saying that I do, after all these movies recently that have come out, and even the ones that are pretty old, I have felt some things very, very, very off-putting about these movies. And I do feel off sometimes whenever I do watch some of these movies that are out there inside of Hollywood, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram as well. But there's also other social media platforms out there that I probably don't know of. And if you're watching from somewhere around the world that doesn't have these certain things, then yeah, you probably have your own websites and movies there as well. But that's why you always have to, when you're a movie maker and everything, you always have to be careful of how dark, how the message that you have behind what you're teaching, because you can't just be throwing these things out and about and not really care about the people. But, I guess that drives up ticket sales. If everyone's scared, all these dark things start happening in their house. One movie that also kind of really tripped me out was, I would have to say maybe a year or two ago, there's a movie that came out called Incantation. Now, Whether this was real or not, I believe this is a movie made overseas from the United States, and pretty much it talks about how this woman fell upon a curse that was given to her, and the only way to get rid of it was to pass it on to someone else. It's kind of like a It Follows kind of thing, but she pretty much did everything that she could to be able to get rid of it, and it was kind of one of those found footage type of movies. And if you've seen that movie, it's kind of off-putting at the very end, how she says, okay, now do this with me, and then she starts doing the hand signals, the symbols and the hand signs, and she also says the name of it and all these other different things. Now, I remember when it first came out, there was a lot of controversy. Was this real? Was this an actual curse that was put onto people for watching this movie? And that's the thing that can be very, very dark, is because if you have places like Hollywood where a lot of darkness and evil lies, what messages are they trying to portray? What messages are they trying to give out to the world? Whether you know it or not, it could be subliminal messaging that's sent out to you that you may not even know. And that's something that I talked about earlier in the video, is some of these messages that are on here correlate with a lot of the spiritual world, but it's not common knowledge. So how do these people know? Is it voluntary knowledge, or is it involuntary knowledge that they actually know what they're kind of putting out there into the world? So that's why, like, when a lot of the stuff I talk about and share with you guys on my channel, it's not the full details, because if I gave you guys the full details, you would be kind of messed up too, you know, just knowing that stuff that actually happens in the spiritual world when it comes to darkness and evil, how all these things come about. It's very, very, very dark, and I'm pretty sure YouTube would ban me if it ever came to that. So that's why I always say, just be careful of the content you consume. Take care of your well-being, take care of your mindset, take care of your brain and your memories and everything, because something you watch could be so traumatic and you'll never forget it. Just like the movie Signs. If you've seen the movie Signs when you were, you know, a younger kid, when that movie came out, and then you saw that alien come out behind the hedge, I'm traumatized by that still. So, yeah. That's pretty much my thoughts on horror movies, and I do believe 100% that they can be able to transmit energies. So that's why I always say, I hope you have a good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Whenever I finish my videos, and if there's bloopers, I try to put bloopers on there to kind of put a little bit lighter side to things, just to be able to make sure that darkness and evil doesn't continue on after you watch my videos. Kind of shake you up a little bit to bring you back to reality. It's like, okay, hey, you're fine, you're okay, you know, you watch one of my videos, now you get some bloopers now. But that's pretty much my thought process when it comes to modern day movie making and the stories that go behind it. You have to be very careful about the stories and topics that you talk about and what you share with the world. Now, I'm still not 100%. I do not recommend watching Incantation unless you're ready to take on a curse like that. I've watched it in last year. I think I'm doing okay. I think I'm doing pretty good. So maybe it's fake, maybe not. We'll see. Maybe when I die, they'll be like, you watch this movie, you got cursed, now you got to deal with it. Anyways. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video here. Again, I cannot thank you all so much. I've been getting a lot of new subscribers. So if you're a new subscriber here to Shanclen Shadow Productions, welcome to the channel. Yeah, the schedule is going to be Mondays, live streams, videos on Wednesdays. And if you're watching this one came out on a Saturday. So I hope you all having a good weekend. And I do have a second channel, Shanclen Shadow Lodge. I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of moving. So if you're watching from that camera, there's probably... see an open wall over here. It's because I'm packing up. I'm actually relocating to a new place, so I'm busy doing that. So yeah, but I do have a second channel, so I've been like a little bit late on those videos just because I've been packing up and everything, but I want to make sure the main channel gets its videos on time, just as I promised. So be able to go subscribe to the second channel, Shanclen Shadow Lodge. And if you guys have any stories or any videos you would like to send me to react to in the future, or you want me to share your story, horror story, you can send it to shanclenshadowproductions@gmail.com, or you can send it to me on Instagram at official Shanclen SSP. And if you are not a member yet of Shanclen Shadow Productions, what are you doing with your life? I'm just kidding, no. If you can't, it's totally fine. You know, I won't hold it against you. But anyways, if you want to become a member of Shanclen Shadow Productions, you do get early access to all these videos. Yes. So you get to view all these things before everybody else. So as well as other perks too on there as well. But again, I can't thank you all so much for watching. And if you're a new subscriber, welcome to the channel. And I hope you all have a good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Yes. Hook on it. You know, there's a video that was sent to me about, it was kind of like a funny video. It was, you know, after watching a horror movie or a nightmare, you wake up and you look at your TV screen and George Lopez is on your screen jumping on a trampoline. That hit me hard because I used to live in a haunted house, and when I would wake up from a nightmare or something creepy, I would turn on the TV and George Lopez would be there. So if George Lopez, if you're watching this, thank you for your show that you got me through a lot of traumatic things when I was a child. Yes, yes. Yes. I don't know how long that was. Alright, now it's my turn to curse you. Just kidding, no, I don't do that shit. Good vibes. Let's all go get a pizza.